Sarah stood in the dimly lit hallway, her heart pounding in her chest. The early morning sun barely peeked through the curtains, casting long shadows across the floor. She had woken up early, feeling lighter than she had in weeks. The weight of her husband's debt no longer pressed down on her shoulders. But as she approached the guest room, hushed voices stopped her in her tracks. "Now that she's paid off your debt, it's time," a familiar voice hissed. Sarah's mother-in-law. "You need someone who can give you real children, not that barren woman." Sarah's breath caught in her throat. She pressed herself against the wall, straining to hear more. "Soon, Ma." Her husband, David, replied. His voice was low, tired. "I just need to get her out cleanly." The world tilted beneath Sarah's feet. She didn't move. She didn't cry. She simply stood there, frozen, as the reality of her situation crashed down around her. 3 weeks earlier, Sarah had been blissfully unaware of the storm brewing in her marriage. She hummed to herself as she tidied David's home office, reorganizing the clutter that seemed to accumulate no matter how often she cleaned. As she pulled open the bottom drawer of his desk, intending to file away some loose papers, her hand brushed against a stack of envelopes hidden beneath a pile of old magazines. Curiosity got the better of her. Sarah pulled out the envelopes, her brow furrowing as she read the return addresses. Banks she didn't recognize. Loan companies. Her stomach twisted as she opened the first letter, then the second, then the third. Late payment notices. Threats of foreclosure. Names she didn't know. At first, Sarah thought it must be a mistake. Surely David would have told her if they were in financial trouble. They were partners, weren't they? They shared everything. But as she read letter after letter, the truth became undeniable. David had taken out loans, massive loans, without her knowledge. And now, they were drowning in debt. That night, when David came home from work, Sarah confronted him. She held up the stack of letters, her hands shaking. "What is this?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. David's face crumpled. He fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. "I'm sorry," he sobbed. "I'm so sorry. It was a bad investment. I didn't mean to hide it from you. I was scared. I didn't know what to do." Sarah's heart ached as she watched her strong, confident husband break down before her. She knelt beside him, wrapping her arms around his trembling form. "We'll figure this out," she promised. Together. The next few days were a blur of phone calls and meetings. Sarah took charge, negotiating with creditors and exploring their options. In the end, there was only one solution: a consolidation loan. $150,000 to pay off all of David's debts and give them a fresh start. Sarah stood outside the loan office, her arms wrapped tightly around herself. Though the summer heat was oppressive, her fingers trembled. As she stepped out of the office, check clutched tightly in her hand, Sarah's mind was quiet. Numb. She'd fixed this, like always. That night, they sat across from each other at their small dinner table. David looked ashamed. He took her hands, kissed them, whispered, "Thank you." He promised this was the last time, promised he would make it up to her. Sarah nodded, managing a small smile. That night, she slept better than she had in weeks, believing that the worst was behind them. But now, as she stood in the hallway listening to her husband and mother-in-law plot against her, Sarah realized how wrong she had been. The betrayal cut deep, leaving her breathless and reeling. She didn't confront them. Not yet. Instead, Sarah quietly made her way back to the bedroom, her mind racing. She had given everything to this marriage: her love, her trust, and now her financial future. And for what? To be discarded like yesterday's trash? As she dressed for the day, Sarah's shock slowly gave way to anger. She had been a fool, blinded by love and loyalty. But no more. It was time to take control of her own destiny. Over the next few days, Sarah played the role of the dutiful wife perfectly. She smiled at David, laughed at his jokes, and pretended everything was fine. All the while, she was making plans. She met with a lawyer in secret, learning her rights and options. She gathered financial documents, made copies, and stored them in a safe place. She reached out to old friends, rebuilding a support network she had let wither while focusing on her marriage. A week after overhearing that fateful conversation, Sarah was ready. She waited until David left for work, then packed her bags. She left her wedding ring on the kitchen table, along with a note. "I know everything. The debt was just the beginning of your betrayal. I deserve better than this. Goodbye, David." As Sarah drove away from the house she had once called home, she felt a mix of emotions: grief, anger, fear. But underneath it all was a glimmer of hope. She had survived this betrayal. She would survive whatever came next. Months passed. Sarah rebuilt her life piece by piece. She found a new job, a new apartment, and rediscovered parts of herself she had lost in her marriage. The road wasn't easy. The weight of the loans still hung over her, a constant reminder of what she had lost. But she was stronger now, wiser. One day, as Sarah was leaving work, she quite literally ran into a man coming around the corner. Coffee spilled, papers flew, and apologies were exchanged. As they gathered the scattered documents, their eyes met. There was a spark, a connection that made Sarah's heart skip a beat. His name was Michael. He was kind, funny, and genuinely interested in her as a person. As they began to date, Sarah was cautious. She had been burned before, after all. But slowly, she allowed herself to open up, to trust again. A year after leaving David, Sarah stood in a courtroom, finalizing her divorce. As the judge declared their marriage dissolved, she felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Outside, Michael was waiting for her. He took her hand, squeezing it gently. "Ready for the next chapter?" he asked. Sarah smiled, truly smiled, for the first time in what felt like forever. "Yes," she said. "I think I am." As they walked away together, Sarah realized that sometimes the greatest betrayals can lead us to our greatest happiness. She had paid a high price, financially and emotionally, but she had gained something priceless, the strength to stand on her own, and the courage to love again. I hope you enjoyed our stories. Please hit the like button, leave a comment below, and subscribe to our channel. Thanks.